We are students of the art of play,
And we do this show called The Art of Play.
a show for the players who ask why.
I'm Vi.
And I'm Gaia, and
Hey,
we're coming to you live from CHSR 97.9 in Fredericton, New Brunswick.
Guy has added this little piece to the intro, and it's totally thrown me off.
We're keeping this in.
Oh my god, yeah, we are. Hey, Gaia.
What are we talking about today?
Yeah, whoa! That's my line. All right, I guess I'll introduce it. Hey, Gaia. Today we're talking about what it means to bring like physical game pieces into the real world. So
Yeah.
we're talking about where we see overlap between a physical object and the game environment.
Yeah.
And our touchstone for this has really been Skylanders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get into the basis of why we want to do this episode. So a few days ago, we were talking about what episode we wanted to record for this week. And yes, this now gives you insight that we record the same week that we do our ideas. I don't think that's too wild, but these episodes are not that well planned out.
Hey, look, sometimes I have heard that podcasters do it like 15 minutes before they sit down to record.
That's wild. I usually at least do it the morning of.
Well, I'm just saying there are people who do it
Worse.
worse.
So we were talking about the idea of toys for video games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to say our basis was like figurines and action figures. And
Yeah.
you were then mentioning, oh, what if we talk about amiibos?
Yeah.
And I stopped and said, what about Skylanders?
And frankly, I had forgotten about Skylanders.
And I hadn't, because I actually, every time I visit home, my dad keeps holding up my bag of Skylanders. Like, do you want to take this back to Fredericton with you? I'm like, how am I going to do that? This is a box.
Do you want your Skylanders?
I do.
you
I want them
want-
so
do you wa-
bad, right? But I played Skylanders, the game, recently, and I realized, not good game. Really cool figures, though.
Yeah.
But what this got me thinking of is, throughout this show, this season so far, we have talked about a lot of old, weird, niche, kind of like genres or areas of gaming that have died off.
Oh yeah, we did a whole thing about like obsolete consoles.
Yeah, we did old consoles, the history of consoles. We did what is it? We did game peripherals.
Oh, yeah.
So we did like Guitar Hero, which is a whole music
we did a
genre that
whole
appeared
thing.
and died.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? We've talked about old consoles, we've talked about old games. Like, we've been hitting a lot of these random niche genres,
stuff.
and we're doing it again.
Yeah.
So I think eventually we're going to be doing an episode on where all these genres tended to come from.
Sure.
But much like Guitar Hero, much like the weird consoles, much like the game peripherals, we're really today talking about a genre that appeared in the early 2000s for some reason, and then the mid-2010s completely died off
Disappeared.
again
Yeah.
for some reason. This is going to sound a lot like our Guitar Hero bit, but it's going to be a full
That's
episode.
fine. Yeah.
Right? We're talking about the toys to life genre. I didn't know that's what it was called, but that's what it's called apparently.
Yeah, this is the Toy Story of our
This is
episodes.
our Toy Story. So the toys to life genre is this genre of taking physical action figures or figurines or physical items and putting them into a game in some form. There's many examples of this, and I'm going to be pretty strict with the definition of talking about what inspired the genre versus what's in the genre.
Yeah.
But generally, it's the question of incorporating the real life into the digital. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a niche market, but if you listen to our bonus content episode, you'd be pretty well aware that there's a big market for figurines and toys, bonus content, and other things.
Yeah.
So why don't we just make those toys interact with the game itself?
Yeah.
So I'm going to hit section 2 in my notes, which is titled, Where Did It Come From? Where Did It Go? Where Did It Come From, Cotton Eye Joe?
I saw that you made this joke, and I want to tell you that I thought it was really funny when I read it. Hearing it,
Not as good.
I'm on the fence.
So I want to kind of talk about the history of the Toys of Life genre, because
Yeah.
I have watched hours of content about this genre now. I have read so many articles, none of them produced by Extra Credits. They're not in the sources for this episode at all. They have produced zero content on this topic for some reason.
We should send extra credits a thank
A
you.
request.
A thank you. A request. I was going to say a thank you note.
They can get that later when they make the episode. So this is going to be one of the most unhinged things I want to say. But in
Yeah.
my opinion, and apparently there's so little analysis of this out there that my opinion might become fact, the Toys to Life genre started with geocache.
Oh, I see how you're going to draw this line. I understand the connection you're making. Would not have thought of geocaching.
Yep. So let's get the history of this genre out of the way. And then we can do an analysis of Skylanders, and we can ask what happened to it.
Is geocaching a video game?
Well, we're about to debate that. So geocaching is this really weird phenomenon that began in the early 2000s, where there were plenty of groups who wanted to do hiking and exploring and leave little secrets for other groups and other people who did it.
Yeah.
This is just kind of a hobby that people had, and that's not video game yet. That's just you leaving stuff for people.
Yeah, it is a game, though.
It's a game, but not
Yeah.
a video game. And over time, these groups would start meeting online, discussing in IRC chats and forums and other like websites on, oh, I left a thing here, go take a look.
Yeah.
And over time, this coalesced into a single idea called geocache, which is a website and now app that you can download that gives you little maps that give you hints
Yeah.
towards treasures that people have left on hiking trails.
In all fairness, I have done this.
I have also geocached. It was a long time ago, but I have.
So fun. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
My dad did this with us as kids when in like again early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once that app came out and they added gamification, so like XP or rewards or
And
like,
now it's a game.
now it's a game. It's a game that requires you to go interact with the real life, confirm that you got something, and gain rewards.
Hey, is this Pokemon Go?
So that's actually another piece of this episode that we're going to
Okay.
be talking about in a bit. But yeah, similar to Pokemon Go, this is you interacting with the real world to get video game content.
Yeah.
And this is where our genre begins. So this genre, again, all about the real world into the digital. It's
Yeah.
the cross between the two. But we haven't reached toys yet. As much as I want to say geocache is the foundation of the toys into life genre, it's not. It's the predecessor to the genre.
Okay.
Right? There's no toy yet, and in many ways, you could also say that Pokemon Go is a spin-off from this. Like the whole AR scene is a spin-off from geocache.
Yep,
You could also
fair
say
enough.
the exercise game scene comes from geocache
Ooh.
to some way, right?
Okay, I understand. Yeah, sure.
Right?
Okay.
But you could also say that the toys to life genre comes from geocache. Geocache is more of a hub of many different ideas that you can branch off into.
Yeah, I think it is just people going, hey, you know what I really enjoyed about geocaching?
Yeah.
This bit. Let's
And-
go do that. And maybe not explicitly,
Yeah.
right? Those are just also things that people liked.
And we've talked about exercise games in our motion controls episode,
Yeah.
and we talked about AR a little bit in our peripherals episode.
This is very cool. I hadn't thought about it this way. I'm a little bit worried that it's correlation, not causation.
Definitely. But I'm
But-
going to do the causal link next.
Yes. Okay.
But the next major kind of thing.
Because
Yes.
Gaia, above all, we're scientists.
We're scientists. I'm a statistician. I really have to be careful with this. So I don't think geocache was causal for the toys into game genre. But what I do think it is it gets people interested in the what if the real world and the digital interacted, right? And as much as many games and movies kind of predicted it or gave versions of it, for some reason I'm thinking of Spy Kids 3 as a movie that sensationalized that idea, right?
Oh, what?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean it did, right?
What?
And technically, I think also Shark Boy and Lava Girl did, because I can't tell the difference between those two movies in my head. But a lot of these,
okay.
a lot of these movies have.
There's so many concepts you just introduced me to, especially the fact that you can't tell the difference between Shark Boy and Lava Girl and Spy Kids.
Spy Kids 3 specifically.
I'm
I watched both those movies on the same day when I was 6, and I haven't watched either of them since.
okay. You're forgiven. This once.
Thank you. But what this does is it's like a lot of people were enamored by the idea of what if video games are real? What if you lived in the digital, right?
Yeah.
And geocache actually gave us a very early version of that. What if your real life activities impacted you digitally and had rewards? Now, that whole concept itself has spun off into its own apps. That's quite literally the same concept that Duolingo makes use of your real life actions give you digital rewards.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same thing as Habitica.
Yeah. Gamification of a habit. Yeah.
Basically, I would also argue geocache is the foundation of gamification, but I don't think any reasonable researcher would agree with me on that one.
no.
But I would say geocache made use of gamification.
yeah. I think
right?
that's more the way I would go with
And
it.
I would also say it's one of the earlier examples of gamification. A pioneer.
Okay.
Geocache was a pioneer in many ways.
Okay.
And I am willing to say that.
I like this. Now, how do you get from geocache to Skylanders?
So the next thing I want to talk about is webkins.
Oh my god! You didn't tell us we were doing. You didn't tell
It's
me.
in the notes. It's item 3 under section 2.
I know, but I would have. I'm gonna lose my little tiny brain.
So I only came up with webkins about 3 hours ago.
Oh my god!
So talking about real life toys having impact, I mentioned how now there's no connection between this and geocache. Just for the note, I'm not
Yeah.
connecting those.
No.
But we've already got the idea of you do things in real life, and it impacts your game. So now let's expand that idea to you buy something in real life and it impacts your game.
Sorry, I'm just
Webkins.
I'm having a whole
You're having a moment.
I'm having a time. I loved Webkins. And I need you to know that I grew up on dial-up internet.
Oh, I did too. Until I was 12.
Yeah, me too. Actually, yeah, until I was about the same age.
Cool.
Dial-up.
We both lived in rural areas, apparently.
Yeah, but dial-up internet, so I had Webkins. And then I would be so excited to log on. And it was like every time you clicked on something, it was like, and now I'll read a chapter of a book. Well, it goes. Yeah.
But yeah, Webkins are, in my genuine opinion, Webkins are the first Toys into Life game.
Yeah.
They're the actual first
Yes.
in this genre game.
You know what? And I agree with you 100% because everything else came later.
Yeah.
And now that I'm thinking about it, Amiibos being a direct, like...
There's a direct line from Webkins to Amiibos?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
That makes sense.
Obviously.
But, this discussion's in many ways to how I say, like, oh, Persona's a spin-off from Shin Megami Tensei, but the Shin Megami Tensei games are not part of Persona. They're their own thing. It's Persona 1 that's part of Persona.
Yeah.
Right? And even that's iffy if Persona 1's actually a Persona game.
Yeah, but it's like...
Weirdly enough.
Those are related.
Yeah. So Webkins would be the first major example of Toys into Life. And now I feel like everyone here knows what Webkins is, but for those who don't, hey Vi, what's a Webkins?
Oh my goodness. So I think what you need to know is that there was a website and then there were these creatures.
Called Webkins?
There was a website called Webkins, if you can imagine. And then you had friends. You had little...
That I can't imagine.
Rude. And then you had stuffed animals who, when you bought them in the store, had a little plastic envelope that had a card in it.
Had a code in
Had
there.
a code in there. And then so when you got home with your Webkins, or when you got one, this was like the best birthday gift, by the way.
Yeah, we're also talking about like 2006.
Yeah. And this was like exactly... Anyway, and so you would take your new Webkins and you would log onto the computer and you would type in this code and then you would get that animal in the game, right? And they had like little names and like personalities and stuff, and then you could interact with them in the virtual space, right? It was a little bit like Club Penguin-y, except that there was no you couldn't interact with your friends, I don't think.
Webkins was a Canadian company.
I love it. Oh my god, I'm so on board. Webkins, you can do no wrong.
I hate that I just opened the wiki for Webkins to figure out when they were founded, and I got this thing that says this article has multiple issues.
Well, it's a
Cool.
shame.
It was founded in 2005, by the way.
Perfect. Same year. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I have to say, sorry, this is unlocking memories for me. This was the go-to birthday gift for like everybody I knew because we all loved them. It was like, oh, we're getting them a stuffed animal. That's not bad. And also it has a code, right? So it was like there were birthdays where I think I got like multiple Webkins, and part of the best part of the birthday was after everybody had gone home, having a piece of birthday cake while you typed in the numbers into Webkins.
Oh, I have visceral memories of that as well, actually.
Oh my gosh.
So
what a good thing to remember today.
The
What a
whole thing of
beautiful-
Webkins, in its essence, was buy a toy, get a code. Your real life toy is moving around in a digital world. Look,
Yeah.
your little friend sitting next to you by the computer
Yeah.
is in the computer
You're-
doing things,
you're
and
playing-
you're building a house
You're
and playing games.
Battleship against him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could interact with real life people in that game as
Yeah.
well. And like they could visit your houses that you built. And if you bought, that was added in like 2009, but yes.
Oh, okay. So I had stopped playing.
I
at
had
that
not.
point.
That's when I started. I started in 2008 because
Yeah.
internet and computer.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you could have real life people interact. It was very similar to how in Club Penguin they could visit your igloo and see your
Yeah.
house. But you had big houses in
See,
Webkins.
I was playing Club Penguin in like 2010.
I was playing
That's
Club
what-
Penguin 2010, but I was playing Webkins in 2008.
Yeah.
Grade 3 I was doing Webkins.
I was definitely doing Webkins.
Because I have this visceral memory in grade 3 of me sitting at a computer in school on Webkins and randomly typing in a code, pretending to see if I could get one. And it said, "What would you like to name your new Webkins?" And I panicked and turned off the computer.
Oh my god.
But that means I faked someone's code perfectly. Because
Yeah.
those codes at that point in time didn't have a sale authenticator
Yeah.
to check if that code had been bought yet.
Yeah.
Which is so funny.
Well, I mean, it's great. First of all, like I love that they were just like, I don't know, we'll just do that. Yeah. Oh god, Webkins.
So funny.
Oh, I still have all of mine. I never ever got rid of them because I liked them so much. I mean, they are in a box in my parents' storage somewhat.
Yeah.
But like I never got rid of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Webkins weren't the only one at this point in time to take onto the market. I'm not about to sit down and say that the iDog is a toy into life. It's
No.
really close. But you want to know what it was? Something called UB Funkies. Now, I didn't know what this was. I had seen ads for it when I was a kid, but I completely forgot about it.
I'm remembering something. You're going to say it. I'm going to be
I
able
sent
to.
you a video of this.
You're going to be able to picture. I'm going to see the commercial.
Yeah. But my friend.
Oh my god!
My friend in one of our servers was talking about this, and UB Funkies were toys by Mattel that came out in 2007 that had USB cords you could plug into your computer, and they would give you unique sound profiles you could access on a website to make your own music and to interact with them. Think of iDog, but toy, but also website, and also community, and also chats.
Okay, so I knew people who had these,
I did too, yes.
but I never had them.
Yeah.
I didn't know that this was also an online thing. I just knew people who had these, and
Oh
were
no, they
always...
had like a websites and chats and communities.
No.
Like
I
forums.
knew people who had them. And they would be like on the desk. I think this would have been like my best friend at the time. Her older brother was probably playing this while we were playing Webkins.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
And this would be another major example. Now, Mattel only made these toys from about 2007 to 2010. I did have to look this up. And again, they were the iDog, but toy, but also community, but online. That's toy into life. That's
Yeah.
a toy into life game.
Yeah.
So we have Geocache gives us the theoretical basis.
Sure.
Webkins is the first application.
And Webkins
There's-
is successful?
very, very successful.
successful?
It still exists to this day. It
Really?
is still so successful to this day that they had to create Webkins Classic so that people could still play the old version after they release a new version that they've called Webkins Next. You can still play Webkins Classic to this day.
Are you telling me that if I could figure out what email I was using, I could...
Well, you had a series of time before you had to buy a new Webkins to keep your account. So your account's probably been deleted since then.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Do you know what Belisara is?
No?
Oh my god, this was the same thing. Okay, real quick. So Belisara was a sort of fantasy horse-esque game that was based on cards. So you bought cards for Belisara, and then you had them. It was a trading card and online game around the same time,
Yeah.
and they all had like positive, inspirational messages on them, like this is the back of the cards. Ah.
Okay, so I see a unicorn with... I haven't seen those cards.
Yeah. Sorry. So I'm just remembering that this existed. They were so good, and they were cards. And so same thing. You bought a thing.
Yeah.
You bought a pack of trading cards, and then they had codes, and then you got that story. Like, they were little stories, so you got that, like, legend and, like, animations and stuff, and I think you got the horse.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I remember my neighbor also being very into Belisara, but she was older than I was. So at one point, we got Belisara to combine our accounts so I could have every card the two of us had.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just remember that
So
happened. Anyway,
what
so
we can
yeah,
see
this
is
is a
that
whole
in the
early
late 2000s,
Yeah.
like late 2000s now.
Well,
at
late
this point.
2010. 2010s.
No, late 2000s. So 2007, 2010. That's late
Yeah.
2000s.
Oh, okay.
So in the late 2000s, what we see is Webkins appears and a lot of other companies appear being like, we see Webkins success. We want to do this too.
Yeah.
But on the other end of the spectrum, where Webkins is buy a toy and get a digital creature, we start, especially in 2007 now, we start
Yeah.
seeing these toys that are, you buy a toy and are actually able to interact with that toy specifically and program that toy on a website.
Yeah.
Now, those are not yet the hallmark of the toys into life genre. We haven't hit the big thing, right? And that big thing would be Skylanders. And I'm about to go on to a bit of a rant.
I need you to know that I think all of my brother and I shared Skylanders because we were both playing around the same time. They all live in a drawer. Or they did.
Yep.
They had a dedicated drawer. It was just the Skylanders.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about that.
So from 2005 to about 2011, we would see mostly the same pattern of buy a toy, get a thing in a game, or if you really like Mattel's music, buy a toy, plug it into your computer, program the toy to make noise.
Fun.
Right? That's all you would see. 2011 is when Activision changed everything. So when we hit, I love Skylanders. I'm going into the lore.
Go
so
for it.
by the time that we hit 2011, there was this game series that was quite old that didn't have a release since after, I want to say 2003, called Spyro.
Yeah.
Now, Spyro was a series of platformers using a purple dragon that we don't really need to go into detail here, but was defining of the early mid-game industry. We're talking the PS1 years.
Yeah. Like, this is like, we figured out how to make a circle in an animated space kind of look 3D. Let's make a creature out of that.
Yeah, this would be like the Mario 64 era.
Yeah.
Right? But after the first 3 Spyro games, the company that was contracted to make Spyro lost their contract. They only had it for 3 games, which wild that they had a contract for 3 games and then it got sold. But anyways, and it was given to other companies that didn't make as good games, and the game fell into obscurity.
Sure.
2011, a game appears from, this was by Toys for Bob, licensed with Activision.
Okay.
That was the company name. I'm not kidding.
Great.
And it was called Skylanders Spyro's Adventure. Mm-hmm. And Spyro was not on the front of the box art.
No.
He was just to the left.
Yep.
And he did come with every copy of the game, though.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
I bet that it was just like a marketing thing of like, if you knew about Spyro, here he is.
Yeah, because what happened is, and I don't know if the story is apocryphal, like I don't know if this is just something that I heard in a video, because I did hear in a video today, but I think it's true that when Toys for Bob was given the license to make this game, Activision said, you can pick one of our IPs to choose a character from and include them.
Okay.
And they chose right, because they chose Spyro, and that was so cool.
Yeah,
Little Dragon Man.
Dude, pounding on the desk.
I'm literally pounding on the desk.
What are you, a British MP? Like,
So, for people who don't know, Skylanders was a game that released originally, I want to say, for the Nintendo Wii, that gave you a little portal and 3 figurines. Yeah. Those figurines were powered with an NFC chip, or not powered, but it contained an NFC chip, which is a chip that can be activated, I want to say, by radio frequencies and magnetism, because, of course, that...
Magnets.
I mean, I study them, but which could send signals from the toy to the game, and the game could send signals back to the toy, and it would store it, hard store it. And basically, it powered itself using the portal, which is actually very similar to how like wireless charging is done today, weirdly enough. Not the same technology, but you get the idea.
Yeah. So I want to be clear about this. If you've never seen it, the portal was like a
relatively big pedestal on your table.
Yeah, it was like grocery store cake sized, right?
Yeah, about that size, like a mini cake.
Yeah, and then each Skylander had a platform, right? Like he was a miniature that you would use for like a board, like that you would use for like Warhammer or like D&D, right?
Yeah.
Like they're sort of that.
A little bit bigger, a little bit beefier, but same idea.
And they came painted and everything, right?
Yeah.
But then they would sit perfectly in.
Yeah, they were
the
glued to a platform, and that platform would be placed on the portal.
Yeah, and so it was like a little thing that you always had by your Wii console.
And when you placed these action figures onto the portal, what would happen is, in this game that you had, this game that had the same voice actor as the guy who did Kronk in Emperor's New Groove, like Pull the Lever Kronk, same guy, same voice actor was the main voice actor.
Solid.
Love him. Great guy. Actually, like real life good person, by the way.
Fun.
And it was a full adventure game with multiple levels and like cool collectibles. But importantly, as you played the game, you had to keep your Skylander on the portal, because it would level up, gain abilities, gain money, gain traits, and you got to pick differing traits.
Yeah.
And it would save to that toy. So then if you took that toy off later and went to a friend's house and put it on their portal for their game, you could put your character into their game.
Gosh.
And it would be, but here's the thing, it'd be associated with your account. So they couldn't register it as theirs. It would be registered as yours. You could deregister if you wanted, but still, right? And so you had an actual in-game character that was a real-life toy that you could bring with you and put into other people's games. And now, finally, we have an actual example of a toy in a real digital game. And it was so fun.
I forgot about this because I didn't know anybody else. Like, I didn't know anyone else who was playing Skylanders. It was just my brother, and we like shared Skylanders. So like,
I had a friend just down the street who also had it.
Yeah. But my brother had like his best friend also played Skylanders, and I remember like helping him pack up the Skylanders into boxes.
Yep.
Into a box. It wasn't like we had a million of them.
You could
into a box and bringing them over to that friend's house because they were going to be like, here's my version of that character.
Yeah. And you could pick different skills and abilities as you leveled up to
Yeah.
differentiate your characters. And you give them
God.
names. And you give them costumes.
You could min-max them.
You could min-max them and give them costumes.
Yeah.
And like I have a core memory of this game. So we're going to be talking into what happened to Skylanders because we're at the point in the script where we need to talk about the downfall. But I just have a core memory of one of my friends had every Skylander but one. And that one was called Boomer. Hilarious. And for my birthday one year, that friend's mom got me that Skylander.
Oh my
and that
God.
friend to this day still doesn't have it.
That's so funny.
He never got it. And because it was actually a really hard one. Like Boomer is a pretty common one, but he was quite hard to find.
Yeah.
Just because like by the time he wanted it, they didn't sell it as much anymore.
Yeah.
And it's so funny that I have that
His
his mom gave me the only one. That dude looked ready to murder when that happened.
Yeah, he must have felt so betrayed.
Yeah, I remember that was my
crazy.
12th birthday when that happened. It would be like just after the game came out.
See, the wonderful thing about Webkins is that there was never a point where it was like, oh my God, I want that one so bad.
Oh, I think I did have that moment when they released the platypus. Come on.
Yeah, no, I don't think there was any that I really, really wanted. Like I would just
I want the platypus. Come on.
Okay, do you know what
Harry
actually?
the platypus?
Can I tell
Harry
you?
the Webkins.
Harry the Webkins. Can I tell you the like number one core memory that I have of this? Okay, maybe not number one. The birthday thing and entering codes on your birthday.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm not ever gonna get past that. I had no idea if that memory existed. I'm not gonna stop thinking about it. But also, there was a point in my life where I was reading, like I read voraciously, like dial-up internet and Nintendo DS. That's what I was doing, right? And at some point, the the chapters gift card thing after your birthday of like, I'm gonna go buy a Webkins and a book, and I'm gonna get steamed milk with mint in it. And I'm going to wander around the bookstore with my mom.
I don't have this core memory, but I'm now going to type that out to Taya.
Well, I'm telling you this right now. That whole set of things makes so much sense for the way I live my life. Wow. Crazy.
That is so good.
Hey, audience, if you ever want to overshare on the podcast, just send us a message and you can be like me.
And what was that? Wow. Mint steamed milk?
Mint steamed milk. Well, they were called steamers, and then I would always get it with peppermint because they were flavored.
That is so good. I need to put that in the out of context quotes chat later. So what we have here is we have like some core memories, of course, with these toys, but also we now have the first real toy into life game.
Yes.
Right? So what happened to Skylanders? So now you probably know the story. There was one big Skylanders game. You played it. It was cool. They released something called Skylanders Giants, and then you never heard of it again.
Yeah.
So what actually happened?
Okay. I'm going to take a guess. I haven't looked at the notes you sent me.
That's so funny.
Is it perhaps that it costs a lot of money to make these creatures and that people stopped buying them?
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's get into the main core problem with what happened. Okay. So after the Skylanders,
the main core problem.
After Skylanders was so successful, they would later release. Well, it was like early 2011 that they would release the first Skylanders game with 32 Skylanders, right? 4 of each element. You know what? I'm going to look at what the elements were because I think it's really funny. They had Earth, Air, Fire, Water.
Yeah.
Magic.
Sure.
Tech.
Okay.
Life, Undead, Light, and Dark.
I'm going to let it pass.
Right? Just magic and tech is so fun. All the other ones are fine. Life, death, light, dark is fine. Magic, tech is really funny.
I really like magic and tech.
Magic and tech, you know what? New element, tech.
Tech.
Love that.
I mean, honestly, it is a little bit of the way that we treat it.
Yeah.
Right?
So the main plot for Skylanders Spyro's Adventure was they're restoring a core of light, which was destroyed by an enemy called Chaos. And then after this major success, the developers were like, okay, what would people want? They want more Skylanders, but just adding more Skylanders is a huge trap. And you can imagine this. There are 32 of them. If there were 40 and then 50 and then 60, you would eventually not be able to differentiate them. And you know what? That's a really common trap. It happens all the time. This idea of content creep is a good idea, a good word for it.
Yeah.
This is a huge problem in a lot of games where you just add so much content that becomes inaccessible.
Yeah, it's not like that one good sword. It's like, well, now there's 5 of them and they're almost identical.
Yeah, some of my favorite games, like Civilization, has this issue. Just add more civs. Well, no, now they're not as fun.
Yeah.
Right? There's no uniqueness.
Didn't this happen to one of the big online platformers? Wasn't Warcraft like this?
Yes, World of Warcraft has this problem.
Was like,
bad,
yeah.
Right? So the next game would come out the next year. I want to say it was over a year later, but it was like still in 2012. They would release Skylanders Giants.
I do remember this.
So Skylanders Giants, I want to say released one giant Skylander, which was like big hyper guy that could only stay in the game for so long.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now you have a time limit and you must have another one.
I want to say that's what it was, or you can only use them at certain points, right? And I think they had 1 for each element, maybe 2 for each element, I want to say. The game came with 3 figures and 1 giant. They did add some normal Skylanders as well, but you get the idea.
And you couldn't use your old Skylanders for this one.
You could.
Oh, you
and
could.
This is one of the big selling points, is you could use the old Skylanders.
Right.
So they kept selling the old Skylanders.
Yeah.
What they would do is make variants for this game instead.
Sure. Fair
so
enough.
you want Spyro, and now we have like a cooler, different looking Spyro, right?
Yeah.
And that was actually really cool. This would also be when they released the 3DS version of Skylanders.
There was a 3DS version?
Yes, it had its own portal and everything. Great. So they released that. And now let me tell you about where this problem begins.
So cool.
So remember, this was 1 year later, and that's fine if they had lots of good ideas and are building off the previous game. In 2013, they released Swap Force. And the idea for Swap Force was Skylanders are made of 2 pieces, and you can mix and match those pieces now, right? Now, this was only, again, unique Skylanders. These were giants.
Yeah.
And again, this is a good addition because there's very few of them. It's very special. But if you have 8 swappable Skylanders, that's now 64 unique combinations, which is very cool.
Yeah.
And then in 2014, they released Trap Team, which gave you the little toys that act as traps in the universe, which, who cares? No one cared about the traps. It's fine. But notice that we're only in 2014 and I'm on game 4.
Yeah.
And in 2015, they released Superchargers. I don't know the bit for Superchargers. All I know is that Donkey Kong was in this game.
Why?
This was when Nintendo started making amiibos, and they made the Donkey Kong and Bowser amiibos work with this game.
Oh.
Which is really cool.
That's okay. I understand.
And
Okay,
then
that
in
makes
2016, they would release Imaginators, and that'd be the last game they released. In 6 years, they released 6 mainline games, each with unique toy lines.
First of all, oh my god, release schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no uniqueness to those games. They all do feel the same because you don't have the time to make new content, right? This was a huge problem. And I just want to put into perspective how popular these toys were. In the first 5 months of Skylanders' release, they sold 30 million Skylander toys.
That's crazy.
Right? Those toys were not cheap. They were like, well, they were $12 in 2011 money, which would be about $20 today. So $20 each? Right?
I mean, it's not crazy. Like,
that's $600 million in 5 months.
I understand. First of all,
in today's money.
Wow.
Yeah.
But also, like this was another thing that was like, hey, like everybody is doing this, right? Everybody is playing this. What are you going to get them for their birthday? This, right? There's 32 of them. How is it possible that we'd get them the same one?
Yeah.
It's fine. Just bring a gift receipt.
We talked in our last episode about how popular figurines were as an option and as physical bonus content. Well, now it is the content.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I still think this is so cool of an
This
idea.
No. This is very cool.
Right?
Yeah.
But, and just to put this in perspective, between 2011 and 2015, which would be game number 5, actually game 4, because the game 5 hadn't come out by this point, they sold 175 million of these toys.
Yeah.
By June 2015, only a few months later, they reported their numbers hitting 250 million.
Yeah,
and
crazy.
By 2016, they reported the numbers being 300 million of these toys in 6 years.
Jeez.
So at $20 a pop in today's money, which by the way, the Giants were more expensive, so I'm going to lowball their amount.
Sure.
At $300 million times $20 a pop,
Yeah.
that is $6 billion in today's money. That's minimum.
Over 4 years.
Over 6 years.
6 years. Okay.
So that's $1 billion a year,
Jeez.
right? So they were popular, but the issue was
This was one game.
well, 6 games, one series.
No. I know, but this was like one thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? This isn't like anyway. Wow.
Yeah. Don't forget,
crazy.
the original Skylanders also had 2 expansion packs.
How much did Webkins make?
I don't have the numbers, but a lot.
I will.
But like this was a big series, but it was just suffering from not being unique, right? It just had the problem of producing the same content all the time. But I'm about to introduce the new problem in the room. So this was Activision's with Toys for Bob making Skylanders.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a $6 billion industry in 6 years. I think some other companies would want to get in on that money.
Yeah.
Right? So who do you think would see toys and recognizable characters and think that they could jump in the market?
Nintendo.
So Nintendo would, but they're coming a little bit later. But there is another company that's known for this, and that's Disney.
Oh my god. Okay, sorry.
Disney.
My brain's so in gamer mode. Of course
Nintendo's
it was
coming
Disney.
next. So I'm not even going to go super deep into this, but Disney would release in, I want to say 2013, so 2 years later, they released Disney Infinity, which had a portal-like platform with 2 divots that you could put your characters in, and they would license their own characters, so Mr. Incredible, or that one pickup truck from Cars for some reason. I can't remember his name. Rover, right?
Mater?
Mater was in the game.
Rover?
I can't remember his name. I
Sorry,
didn't watch
yeah.
Cars. Mater would be there. We'd be looking at most of the Disney heroes, actually, would be in this game called Disney Infinity. And Disney Infinity was a series of levels themed around the different characters, and if you wanted to access the levels from, let's say, Incredibles, you had to own at least one Incredibles figure. And if you want to get the levels from Pirates of the Caribbean, you'd have to own one character from Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Or Caribbean, if you prefer that.
Okay,
right?
I didn't know this game existed. I knew no one who had this.
I knew no one who had it, but I was watching game reviews by this point in my life. Right. So at this point, I was old enough to be watching game reviews.
Sure.
Right? And Disney Infinity was very popular. Not Skylanders popular. Never would reach that peak, but it was still very popular, right? And it had 2 major features. First, unique levels for each world that you got. And second, a hub world that you could build using resources from those levels and the various characters that you bought.
Yeah.
Which is cool. This is cool. Now, some people had issue with Disney Infinity for not being one holistic story, but rather a series of small stories. Yeah. And that's a fair criticism, but the game was trying to be a series of small stories, so it wasn't a huge criticism.
That was the whole point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there would be another game that entered the scene. Around I think this is a few years later now. I want to say this would be 2015, near the end. A game would also release from another major physical toy player that has a history of making video games. Lego Dimensions.
Wow. Oh
I bet you weren't ready for me to say Lego.
No, I was like, this has got to be Lego.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Lego's Dimensions would release.
Oh my god.
Which would be a game where you could buy figurines and build them yourself, right? And put them on the portal, and they would spawn into the game, and the game would play like Lego Batman, Lego Lord of the Rings, Lego the Lego Movie, DC Comics, Wizard of Oz, Simpsons, Ninjago, Doctor Who. I'm reading the list. Back to the Future, Portal, Ghostbusters, Scooby-Doo, Jurassic Worlds.
Yeah, basically anything Lego has ever made a Lego set for.
Adventure Time, Harry Potter.
Wait, what?
Sonic the Hedgehog, E.T.
You trying to tell me there was Adventure Time Lego?
Yep. Teen Titans Go, the Powerpuff Girls, and Beetlejuice were all in this game. And I'm not going to lie, I know nothing about this game.
That's so many.
The game features characters from 30 franchises, which is huge. And then year 2, they would also add the HAL 9000 from Space Odyssey and Star Labs. Or Star Labs from the CW's The Flash, Bedrock from the Flintstones, and the Family Room from the Jetsons, and the DNA strip from Red Dwarf as just items and things that you can interact with. This is really funny. But Lego's Dimensions was another really fun and good game. But are you noticing a problem now?
There's too many.
All of these games, there's 3 games, which you might think 3 games in one major genre doesn't sound like a lot. All of these games require you to buy hundreds of dollars of material to play them.
Yeah.
Right? This is the Guitar Hero problem. You want to play Guitar Hero? Hundreds of dollars. What happens after someone buys the toys? They stop. So now, the problem with Guitar Hero is once you have a guitar, you're done, right? And Skylanders has solved this problem. You can buy more Skylanders and have more fun.
Yeah.
Right? So they solved that, but they also ran into the issue.
I'm sorry. The phrase Skylanders solved the Guitar Hero problem would happen on no other show.
But importantly, how do I get back from that?
I don't know. Sorry.
But importantly, imagine now that you're a company that relies on the sale of toys to stay afloat, because that's obviously what Toys for Bob needed. They needed those toy sales to stay afloat, right? They were hyper successful, don't get me wrong. Imagine now that your possible player base being cut into 1/3.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money gone.
Right? Now, don't get me wrong. Skylanders was early, so they already had a lot of money built up. They had a lot of brand loyalty, a lot of trust.
Yeah.
Skylanders had way more than a third. And Lego and Disney also both did very well.
Yeah.
But this is a very saturated market now.
Those are big companies, and all of them are vying for part of this market
And
share.
importantly, Skylanders was releasing a game every year. And guess who else released a game every year? Disney
Lego?
Infinity. Disney Infinity released 3 versions before they stopped.
Jeez.
Right? And again, you needed to buy new things to play the new versions. You couldn't just play your game, right? And like, there's a question that I've seen asked plenty of times that why did Skylanders disappear? And it's the same reason that Guitar Hero disappeared. The same thing that we talked about in our show.
Yeah.
There was overuse of the brands, right? A short development timeline, very minor changes between the games, a lack of imagination in various iterations, high cost, big capitalism. I just wrote the words big capitalism in my notes, right? Thousands of variants of the toys.
Yeah.
You could buy Spyro or Dark Spyro or Chrome Spyro, and that's only for game 1.
Yeah. I think this is so much a thing of also like you for Disney Infinity, you have to buy something to play more
content.
game. That's
the Webkins issue.
This is pay to play. Webkins though,
Webkins was a bit friendlier.
Webkins
but this
was friendlier
is something
because
that
if you had one Webkin,
Webkin, yeah.
What is the plural of Webkin?
Well,
what is the
remember,
singular?
kin means friend. It's a web friend.
Okay.
Webkins.
Webkin. If you had a Webkin, you could access everything.
Yeah.
There was never the Club Penguin thing of like, here's the free version and here's the
Well, you can
paid
access
version.
everything, but if you bought more, you got more content, which helped a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you got more guys. Like that
Yeah.
was the whole thing. Yeah.
But yeah, like this is just it. These games have a very high production cost. They have high consumer costs, right?
Yeah.
Like imagine 32 Skylanders. You start with 3 of them with the base games. You spend $60 to get 3 of them.
Yeah.
But that's
and that seems
$80. Sorry,
that
because
seems
that's
pretty
game plus
reasonable.
Portal,
That's
right?
game and
that's
thing.
still $20 per.
Yeah.
And now you have 29 left at $20 a pop, plus the DLC, which was $40. It came with a Skylander, 2 items, and a bonus level. Which honestly, the bonus levels are really good. I played them; they were really fun.
Okay.
But we're looking at, if you want to buy all of that, you're looking at about $800.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of money.
Yeah.
In today's money, sorry.
Yeah.
$800 today, right? That's a lot. And that's
but it's
only
like-
for the first game.
Yeah.
Think about the giants. Think about the swaps. Think about the traps I get and the supercharge. People stopped playing by that point,
The rest of them.
right?
Yeah.
And then imagine doing that all over again for Disney Infinity. And now, and here's something that I actually had an issue with. I know most people don't have this issue. I don't particularly want to see Mr. Incredible playing with. Actually, Disney would later do this with Iron Man and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yes, there was an ad with all 3 of them on the same screen.
I don't. No.
Right?
No, thanks.
Like it's so cool to see all these characters I like, but they're in a scene and in a universe that I don't like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm not a fan of that. I don't like that. That doesn't do it for me in terms of game design.
Yeah.
With Skylanders, I hear like the plot for Skylanders is that Chaos destroyed the crystal and froze all the Skylanders in time, and you have to save them and use their powers to defeat Chaos. How do you save them? With your wallet.
Bad.
You buy them to free them from their prison, and then once you free them, you gain their powers to fight Chaos. Which is actually, you know what? That's kind of good. That's kind of nice.
That's
right?
kind of okay.
It means that all these characters exist in the same universe and the same story for the same reason. They're just different friends who were caught up in a problem, and you get to choose which ones you need to bring on your team to save the rest of them.
Yeah.
And if you free all of them by buying all the toys, well, you still have the issue that the main power crystal is destroyed, and they could all get frozen again, so you still have to go defeat Chaos.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I
Like,
mean,
I feel like I have a reason to care about the characters in Skylanders. Why do I
Yeah.
care that Mater and Obi-Wan Kenobi are fighting a giant together?
you don't.
Right?
Yeah, I do.
That's such a funny sentence. Disney Infinity really gave the weirdest crossovers.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't love when stuff like that happens. This is, I think, part of the reason I don't like Smash Bros.
Yeah, I can understand
Because
that.
I
It is
really,
an issue
I
with Smash
really
Bros.
don't like having characters who are part of their own stories doing things.
Yeah.
Like Mario Kart, that's okay. That's fine.
Usually they add other characters as bonus content.
Yeah.
Going back to that episode.
Yeah, but it's not like, here, Link's gonna, and they're not like fighting, right? They're just like, we're all playing
They're
cars.
competing.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah,
They're having a fun
whatever.
little drive.
We're having a fun little Sunday drive. Like, that's fine. The fact that it's a whole game based on crossover events where they aren't like when I say intelligently, I mean they're not like thought out plot based crossover events. They're just like, oh yeah, here's your favorite guy and here's your other favorite little guy, and they're doing stuff together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of ruins the favoring of the guys.
Yeah, the reason I like the guys is because their stories are fun.
Yeah.
Right? If you just put the guys, if you divorce them from your stories,
The
and
Avengers.
it's just the men.
This is also why actually I don't like the Avengers.
This is also why I don't like the Avengers.
Here's
yeah.
like some plot points. I genuinely don't like the Avengers. Like I actively dislike the Avengers as a
Oh,
concept.
fun. Okay.
Right? I feel like the Avengers ruined Spider-Man for me. And that's not a joke, but that's for a topic outside of the episode. Because we have 10 minutes left and I have a question for you if you're interested.
Okay, I was just gonna say anecdotally, I had a friend group that we were all cadets, and we would all go see the Avengers movies together as they were released. That was like the thing we did. We all saw Endgame together, and that was it. And that was exactly the time that Avengers like was done.
Yeah.
That they should have just walked away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. But I do have a question for you. And this is where you get to talk about Nintendo.
Oh, great.
So Skylanders died off. Disney Infinity died off. Lego Dimensions, as much as it hurts my soul to say that this happened to Lego specifically, but Lego Dimensions died off.
Yeah.
Which, like, come on. I'm so sad. Anyways.
But also, it was time.
Yeah. I still wish Lego would continue doing it, though, because come on. But anyways. So Toys of Life games are dead. Right?
No. Hey, have you heard about these excellent things called amiibos?
Let's hear about them.
Little guys, little figurines.
Little guys.
Still have an NFC. Great. They are characters from games in fun poses. They're figurines that you would probably buy if you're a person who buys
I
figurines.
hate that NFC sounds like NFT.
Yeah, that's a shame. It's almost like they're sorry, let me just throw things around the
Punch
studio.
things right next to me.
They were figurines. Anyway, are figurines, amiibos, that have an NFC in them, and then you scan them into your game, and you usually just get bonus stuff in the game.
Would you say it's bonus content?
I would say it's bonus content.
Ooh, it's almost like we did an episode on
Almost
that.
like we did an episode on this.
We didn't really talk about this in that episode, though.
Yeah, we kind of danced around it. We mentioned them,
Yeah.
but we didn't actually like talk about them. Yeah. So anyway, they're usually like they're released with particular games, and then you can use them in kind of any Nintendo game. I think so long as it features that character, or there's something.
Not even sometimes if it doesn't feature that character.
Yeah.
Most Switch games have some amiibo compatibility.
Yeah, it's like I think Polygon publishes like what do you get if you buy this amiibo in
They
this
do.
game, and that's really helpful. That's nice. You don't have to worry about it. It's like, okay, if I scan the Breath of the Wild link into Tears of the Kingdom, what am I gonna get? If I scan like the Smash Bros link, now what? If I put Ganon into Smash Bros, do I break the game? Do I get
Yeah.
nothing?
And
Like,
I just Googled weird amiibos, and I just want to talk about some of my favorite amiibos quickly.
Excellent.
For Yoshi's Woolly World, I think it was, they released a Mega Yoshi, which is in real life bigger than my head, and its
love 'em.
foot had the NFC in it,
Great.
which is so funny. What else did they release? They released Wii Fit Trainer as an amiibo. Still don't know why. I assume that was for Smash. Let's see. They released Link riding a horse with a mask over his head from Breath of the Wild, which is a cool amiibo.
Yeah.
They added Detective Pikachu as
Fun.
an amiibo.
Great.
They have Link from Majora's Mask carrying a Goron mask. That one's just cool. All of the cards they released for Animal Crossing, which was amiibo cards, which are still
Okay.
amiibos and NFCs, but they're cards.
Yeah.
Kind of defeats the purpose. They added Wedding Mario, Wedding Bowser, and Wedding Peach from Mario Odyssey, which I think is cool.
That's really
but also
good.
weird.
Yeah.
They added 8-bit versions of Mario and Link. That was fun. And they added Bayonetta. And I just want to say Bayonetta exists as an amiibo.
Anyway, so all of these like characters
Yeah.
that you can do stuff with in a game.
But do they have their own game?
No, they don't. Sorry, you were looking at me. I was like, have I missed something?
No, they
No.
don't have their own game.
And I think the thing that I really enjoy about amiibos is they are explicitly bonus content,
yes.
right? They are, if you are going to buy this, right, you get some bonus content for your game, but you also get the physical thing. This is not, you need the physical thing to play your game, to unlock levels. It's just like, hey, do you want a sword in the game? Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Here's, great, good job.
And importantly, you don't need them to play most games,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's like a couple 3DS games that required them, but overall, you don't
Yeah,
need
but
an
I think
amiibo
3DS was right in the same time
as Skylanders.
as Skylanders.
The end of Skylanders, especially, yeah.
So I think a lot of that was just carryover from like, you need that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you don't need an amiibo to play a
Yeah.
game. Amiibos are bonus content, and they were
Yeah.
fun. And
They
yeah,
are fun.
they are fun.
Are
They
fun.
still have them. They
exist.
still make them.
Yeah, they
And
still actively make them.
they've been very successful.
Yeah.
Right? I have some notes from the Wikipedia article I wanted to quote for this
Sure,
bit that
yeah.
says, unlike most other Toys to Life series, Amiibo does not have any games exclusively to use the toys.
Yeah.
But the characters are used throughout various games. Amiibo can save players' progress data and information per game. However, many games offer only read-only functionality.
Yeah.
So some games do let you transfer Amiibos. A really good
Okay.
example is Smash Bros.
Cool.
You can train an Amiibo because Amiibo and Smash Bros are AI that you can train, like machine learning AI. Oh, I love that. Sorry, Vi just showed me like a Webkins.
Sorry,
but
Gaia was like, was there any Webkins that you really wanted? And now I'm looking
Pink
at photos
unicorn.
of them, and I was like, yeah, this
Yeah.
pink horse, I had him. He's great.
But with Smash Bros, you can train your Amiibo to be a skilled AI fighter. Bring that AI to a friend's console and then fight them together.
Yeah.
And which is very Skylander style content.
Yeah.
Right? Now, we're kind of near the end. I wanted to bring up one more thing while we're here about really cool use of these toys like this idea of Toys to Life games and
Yeah.
the fact that Pokemon Go exists.
Yeah.
Pokemon Go took the other aspect of geocache when designing this. We're going all the way back to geocache for that.
Yeah.
In that instead of making toys that interact with the game, they made your life interact with the game. Right? You don't
Yeah.
you don't buy a toy to play the game. You play the game to interact with your life.
Yeah.
And that's a cool flip of the script.
This was a very fun, like, I also have like core memories from like when Pokemon Go first launched.
Also 2016, which would be
Yeah.
when Amiibos came out, and also the end of Skylanders.
Yeah.
All of these things coincide.
Yeah, it's so funny to me to like it's really fun to reframe my life around the things that I was into at the time versus like, you know, it's the other side of it. Like you can either look at the trend line of my life versus, you know, what I'm interested in or like what was happening in my life, or you can look at my life versus the stuff I liked.
Yeah.
Fun reframing.
Honestly, Pokemon Go was a very successful alternate application to the Toys to Life genre.
Yeah.
Rather than saying buy toy, get content in game, they said play game,
game.
get content in real life.
Yeah.
Right? Add that Pokemon to real life. Add a gym. Add
Yeah.
like go for walks, go outside. It was the other half of geocache, and it's
Yeah.
so weird that I have to keep calling
Calling
back to
it
geocache.
It is geocaching though. Like I knew I drew this line like when I first started playing Pokemon Go. I was like, we're geocaching. It's just virtual.
We're geocaching for Pokemon.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ooh. There was
And also landmarks instead of weird places in the middle of the hills
Yeah.
of nowhere.
Yeah. This was great. I think one of the things that was really, really good about Pokemon Go is that you could tell when other people were there to play Pokemon Go.
Yes. Oh
Like-
my gosh.
Like I was in production for a play at the time over the summer that Pokemon Go came out. And so there was like a solid, I don't know, whenever we were in rehearsals, which was like every day, lunchtime would roll around and we'd all be like, we're going to go get lunch and play Pokemon Go while we walk.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was so
It
fun.
was so
I used
good.
to do that.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, and the places, no, it might be different now. Pokemon Go has evolved, but like the places that were landmarked as gyms were usually places where you kind of wanted to be anyway.
Yeah.
They were sort of like hubs of things. It wasn't just like
Yeah.
some guy's house.
Gyms were big hubs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Which was really fun.
yeah,
Anyway, yeah.
that covers pretty much everything. So there's kind of the final question I want to answer of, is the Toys to Life genre dead? Well, no.
no.
Much like other major mechanics, Toys to Life isn't dead. It was incorporated into other games. Very similar to Guitar Hero of incorporating music and incorporating like interactions with music into rhythm games and using toys and stuff to interact with your game as a controller.
Yeah.
Guitar Hero was incorporated into Ring Fit, which is a wild thing to say, but this concept of using physical toys to interact with your game as a controller
Yeah.
is what Ring Fit uses. And Guitar
Yeah.
Hero was the pioneer of how to do it right.
Yeah. This is also, I think, we have run out of time, but this is also an AR thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
AR, VR.
AR, VR,
Yeah.
all these kinds of things.
Yeah.
The genre isn't dead.
No.
But it's part of a greater system.
Mm-hmm.
And so, unlike the Guitar Hero episode, we actually have a very positive takeaway on this one.
Yeah.
Toys to Life is still a thing. It's just now it's a greater thing as
Yeah.
part of a greater whole.
And now it makes a little bit more sense and is a little bit less predatory, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until you open eBay for amiibos, which
yeah.
I have.
Which don't.
I shouldn't.
Don't do that. Yeah.
But that covers pretty much everything. So once again, as I always say, thank you all so much for listening, for coming to listen to us talk about Toys to Life games and amiibos and me rant about Skylanders for 20 minutes.
Thank you for like joining us in a conversation where we just tangent for a while.
Yep.
Sometimes we do episodes that are like very structured. Sometimes we do guest episodes. Sometimes we do tangents.
Yeah. This episode was weirdly structured despite being a lot of tangents.
Fun.
It was really fun. So also thank you, Vi, so much for joining me today. Next week, we're going to be doing some more recordings. We're going to be talking about how do you handle morality and evil systems in video games.
We've dubbed next week Evil Week.
We're going to be probably bringing in some friends for this one as well.
Yeah.
So tune in next time for Evil Week. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye.
And that's it for today's episode. But what if you wanted to listen to more? Well, our new episodes come out every Thursday at 9 p.m. Atlantic, and there are 3 different ways that you can listen. If you're in the Fredericton area of New Brunswick, Canada, you can listen live on CHSR 97.9 FM through any of your radio services. If you're not in this region or you prefer using the internet, you can tune in on chsrfm.ca at the same time, 9 p.m. Atlantic. As well, we release all of our episodes on a number of podcasting platforms online, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. So if you wanted to, you could go back right now and listen to Season 1, where Vi and I do a deep dive into the fundamental concepts of game design, rather than the hardware they'll be taking up this season. Anyways, thank you for listening, and have a good one.